eat some more, and then my wife and I went out and ate again tonight. I mean, that's all we've been doing. I'm just fat and happy right now. So, there you go.
There we go, baby. We're going to get some people in the chat here. We're going to wait for a couple more people to file on in. We got Wayne Cook in the house once again to break down this Iowa win and talk about some of the other stuff. So, guys, we're going to wait for you guys to file in. Make sure you guys are checking us out on the great LA Football Network. I'm going to read the advertisements in the meantime right now. I'm going to retweet this out real quick, and then let's talk about it. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread each and every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. All right. Well, we got close to 20 people already in the chat. They are eager to hear what this guy has to say. Let's get this thing rolling here. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is up, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bruin Bible. We had to get him back in for his opinions, his thoughts, his just general love of UCLA football after the biggest win of the season thus far. A Friday Night Lights victory, 20-17 over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Wayne was on the sidelines. Madman and I were out in the crowd having a blast. And, I mean, just a very, very impressive win for UCLA across the board. The errors of this team in the early parts of the season look to be corrected in some regards. Doing it against a really tough defense within Iowa. The offensive line looked great. We've got a pass rush now. Wayne, talk to me about your experience on the sideline for that game and the vibes in the locker room after, because this team kind of has a little bit of swagger now. We got the defensive player of the week within the conference in Schlesinger. We had the Big Ten play of the week with Logan Loya's touchdown. Things are exciting for UCLA right now.
So first off, guys, Will and Jamal, tell the truth. I text you guys can I come on tonight? Can I talk some Bruin football? I mean, you know how it goes. I had so much fun because we've done this together, you guys. We've watched this team grow up, and we've been as positive, all three of us, as we could be, even through the 5-game losing streak. And, we were aware of the fact that the schedule was tough, but we were also frustrated at the fact that we thought we could get more out of this team. But the one constant was how hard they played, how much they cared about each other, how the coaches coached so hard. And so many good things have happened. We're seeing, I saw something on my phone earlier today that had the conference coaches of the week, and I don't know what publication did it, but Deshaun got that. We remember the Kaika Malloy moment where he said, I'm not going to sleep until I figure this thing out. But you guys have to know something. When you play opponents like UCLA played, it does suck when you look at other teams that have much easier schedules and have a lot more wins, and people aren't smart enough to realize that win totals aren't always equal. There's teams out there. I mean, I'm sorry if you're playing in the Big 12 right now, you have a lot more easy games than you do another. And I'm not trying to be mean, but it is what I mean. Nobody's even talking about Arizona State. I think it's so funny because they're talking about Colorado because of all the Sanders stuff, and it's hey, what about Arizona State? They got the same record, playing in the same conference. I'm but it's just it's a hype machine sometimes. But UCLA went through a gauntlet, but who cares now? They've won 3 games in a row. They've taken on 2 elite defenses, and I know we were really frustrated with our offense, but our offense is coming around. And one of my favorite moments, and I'm going to jump around a little bit right here. I'm going to go to the end of the game. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm friends with Ethan Garbers. I love the guy. I love a lot of the guys on this team, and I've been lucky enough to get close enough to where I really get to know these guys. And, he played well enough to win this game, but I wasn't going to interview him after the game. And he walked by, and I grabbed Carson Schlesinger, who had 2 interceptions, and I interviewed him, and I gave Ethan the bro hug thing, and he walked by. But then he was sitting in the chair, and I said, you know what, dang it, Ethan, get your butt over here. And I said, we're gonna do this. And Garber's, the first thing out of his mouth is, man, I gave up 14 points. And I went, that's what I'm talking about, because I'm telling you, quarterbacks have to take the credit with grace sometimes, because I got to be honest with you, when you get too full of yourself and too cocky, it never ends up well. There's always a crash at some point in time. And when you're too down on yourself, that's a bummer too. And so like you quarterbacks have to know, like, there's this, you've got to be this leader that's confident enough to where everybody feels it, but you also have the humility to admit, like, hey, I screwed up. That interception, and I said it was so funny because Matt Stevens and I see a lot of the same stuff. And with the first interception in the end zone, not the first one, well, we can talk about that one later. The one in the end zone, the ones that cost us points.
Right.
He jumps and tries to make the throw, and the ball flutters, and Matt's like, well, that's not really his fault. And I said, well, yeah, it is. As a quarterback, you got to tuck that. Like, you can't jump and throw at that point and take a hit. And so I hope he watches the film and realizes, like, a sack and maybe it'll lead to a field goal there is way better than a turnover. And then the one I feel kind of bad about, because I was watching the game earlier today, and that was a great punch on the fumble when he ran. Ethan, one of his strengths, you guys, is how ultra competitive he is, and I'm telling you, he's a gunslinger. He thinks he can throw any throw. You can see it in the touchdown he had to Logan Loya was one of those throws. That's a tight throw into a tight window, and yet he just wants to make those throws. You can see it. The touchdown to Titus. I don't know if anybody grasps how good of a throw that was. He was not. That wasn't one of those flat routes that was wide open. He was covered pretty well, and he led him just a little bit to the outside, a little bit forward so he could come back and get it. And it was a really good catch by Titus also. I don't think that was an easy catch either.
Wait, may I cut you off for a second? This is Robert at Timolala. This is Titus's dad in the chat saying hello from Hawaii. He says what up to the madman, to Wade, all of us. So
I didn't do that on purpose.
Robert, we love you, and he's been a great follower of the show for a number of years, and we're so grateful for the support. So Robert.
So what's so fun about that, you guys, is and Titus has done such a great job this year of growing and coming back from that injury, and he's getting more and more, and we've needed him. You know, I said this the other day. I want as much Titus and Logan on the field at the same time as I can get, because I think those two guys are natural athletes. They seem to know how to find space. They create separation. They've got great hands. But anyway, I'm rambling about the game, but I just the sidelines were great. The beginning was terrible, but you guys, I mean, let's be honest. This was a very good Iowa team. That the score is so misleading. The Nebraska score. Now this is part of what we need to work on. This is what the coaching staff needs to hammer home. Like, we can't keep doing this, because now we're down to. Yes, sir, Robert. Much love to you too, buddy. Now we're down to the point where you don't want to lose a game to an SC or a Washington or even a Fresno State because you can't hold on to the ball. Or you have too many 15-yard penalties. These things keep coming up in games, and it's frustrating. But this was a butt whooping. We held one of the best running backs in the country to like 40-something yards. He had nothing, like zero. And if everybody out there, and I say this all the time, and I felt so dumb when we started losing all these games, because I was like, I don't think the defense is going to drop off that much. And you guys know I said that. I said that way back at the beginning of the year. And I said, because look at these guys have so much swagger. Ikaika's a great coach. And if you don't think Cam Madrano's an elite athlete, you're crazy. I even said Carson Schlesinger, one of my buddies, I'm like, if Carson Schlesinger could do this middle linebacker thing, which sounds kind of dumb now, but if he could do this thing, we can move Femi to the outside. It's like, and Femi he had 4 TFLs, you guys.
Yeah, man.
Dude,
yeah.
Carson's a stud. These guys, we have so many athletes. Jay Toia is crushing people. That's why our run defense is so good. And Kafusi has taken huge strides. And I know we talk about Jay so much, but there's more than that in there. But I could keep going. But this team has very good players. I think with a little tweak in a normalized schedule, we're looking at a six win team right now. Even with like a Washington schedule. I mean, I'm being serious, because they had a lot more cupcakes early on. So anyway, it was exciting. It was fun. The players can feel it. But what I love about it is they're not done yet, guys. They're like, we got to fix some stuff. We got to clean it up, and we got to keep getting better.
Wayne, it's so refreshing to sort of hear the energy from the locker room, and that we've been so excited. We've talked so much about, even at 1-5, hey, can this team make a run and get to the bowl game? And now it just seems we're on the precipice of it. A 2-1 finish is all it's going to take here, and presumably you got to feel good about hosting Fresno State, even though historically we've had some challenges there. So it comes down to kind of splitting these two games against Washington and SC. Wayne, what was kind of one thing, before we sort of look ahead to Washington, what was maybe one thing that surprised you the most from the Iowa game? And then what was one thing that you really expected? And I sort of go back to, you said some great things kind of pregame about some downfield passing. And we saw that with Sullivan and Jacob Gill. We got burned on 2 kind of play action deep balls. I was thinking of you, the whole time that happened. So what was maybe one thing that really surprised you and one thing that you expected from that game?
Well, as far as what they did, I wasn't surprised at all.
Yep.
And I didn't think the quarterback was good. I thought he was athletic, but I didn't think he was good. And deep throws, like you guys just talked about, are they're easy. Like you really, because we got one-on-one.
Yep.
And when you get one-on-one and you throw it up, you hope your defense, your receiver makes a play. So I wasn't surprised by that. I wasn't surprised by how much we shut him down. I was thinking more like 70 or 80 for Johnson. I thought kind of hold him under 100 and we'd be okay. So all of that went as advertised. It's kind of bummed that the turnover thing came back, but I love that we're forcing turnovers. We're starting to become an opportunistic defense. I absolutely love that. The K. Medrano strip was incredible, and he almost did it twice. Yeah. Right? Yeah, that second one would have been more fun because he would have scored. But if you watch the film, you guys, he's trying to do that a couple of times.
Yep.
And he's he's just, when you give older athletic players like this, like I feel they know the game so well at this point that they're almost like, and I see it from Logan Loya on the other side of the ball. It just looks like he's toying with people. Like, it's like, I kind of know what you're going to do. Like, it's like, we've been here, done this a lot. And I'm seeing it for quite a few of the defensive guys. So I thought that would happen. And here's my favorite part of the game, you guys. We have been watching this running game. And this is the part that I didn't expect. And I really didn't. I thought we were going to become incrementally better each week. I thought we would run, but this is Iowa. They're Big Ten football. Iowa, you can't. You West Coast people can't play in the Big Ten. We kicked their rear end up front. We pushed them around, even with Prongos got hurt. And you guys, and I feel so bad. I hate it when linemen get rolled up on. I hope that he's okay. I haven't heard anything yet. I don't know if you guys have, but like Jeffers came in and did a heck of a job. I literally watched him for a lot of the game at left tackle, and like everybody else on the line, he had his moments where he made mistakes. But for a dude that size, he moved well, he blocked well, and the running game did not miss a freaking beat. TJ Harden was awesome in this game. Berger, again, something happened in the first half, and I'm not 100% sure what. He looked pretty upset at halftime walking off the field. But our running game really, really, really got going, and I don't know about you guys. I think we can run the ball against Washington. I think we can run the ball against SC, so that got me like a huge smile on my face. Because now that I feel like we're coming around and we're able to run and throw the ball, if we can just avoid the turnovers, we're looking at least 2 more touchdowns, and it's just like this game gets, So I'm very, very, very pleased with how much progress we've made. This was a great win in front of a very fun Rose Bowl crowd. I know there was a lot of Iowa people there, but you guys get used to that and don't knock it. Take it as a compliment. For all the Bruin fans out there like, well, yeah, but there's a lot of people. Because people want to go to the freaking Rose Bowl. They're going to come to our games, and let's embrace it, but you need to be louder than they are, which we were. And so that's fine, because we were winning, especially once after the 10-0 leave. It was a butt kicking after that. So whatever. I was very pleased with the run game. I think if anything surprised me, I fully expected our guys to run hard because they always do. But the holes that were there, and TJ had an awesome game. TJ was fantastic in this game.
Thrill, before I give it back to you, one thing about the run game, Wayne, I just want to double click. Field level, how much of it that you saw was development of the offensive line and how much of it was scheme? Because Will and I talked after the game, our post-game show. And one thing we really noticed that was glaring is Ethan was under center a lot more. And, and there was kind of the motion, and the motion would sort of go away from the zone. It was an outside zone concept that really started getting TJ to run downhill, where then he could make a cut and then make the second cut. Sometimes from that shotgun position, I think over the course of the season, he's been a little bit more flat-footed, which isn't really his running style. And so that was something we noticed schematically. I'd love to get your thoughts, kind of field level. How much did you see improvement of the offensive line? How much was it scheme? How much was it both? And what were your thoughts?
I think it's both. I think what Coach Castillo's done with the offensive line has been incredible. I brought up Jeffers for a reason, because he looks like he's improved a ton. He looks like a kid that practices hard. Like he really had good fundamentals, and if you're going to have to play left tackle, you have to be. And this was a very good Iowa team, so I was impressed with that. What's happened with Sam Yoon and how much better he gets every single week. DeGiorgio's been getting healthier and healthier. I'm a little worried about his. He had a couple of shoulder issues where he was kind of dealing with it in the game, and those can be a problem when you're on the outside playing tackle. But they've improved a ton. And then the assistant coach right now that has gone from the struggles of the early season to what we've been watching together, the improvements, and you can go back to the last couple of losses. We had moments against LSU. We had moments against Penn State. I really go back to the Penn State game, though, because when we had to play J-Mart and everything was coming out quick, I think something clicked. And then as we progress through the next couple of games, we're doing more runs to the outside. We're being smarter with our screen game. Like we screened Iowa really, really well a few times. Like I think that Eric Bieniemy and his play calling has gotten better and better and better. And now, remember, the offensive line play and the play calling go hand in hand, along with the quarterback play and all that stuff, because we're seeing it at the NFL all over the place. Like I just watched a whole bunch of people breaking down Caleb Williams and what's wrong with him, and he's holding the ball too long. And I go, first of all, we have a problem in sports. We show quarterbacks running around and making highlight plays all the time instead of throwing a guy put his foot in the ground and throwing a timing route that's perfect. Like I wish we'd show more of those, because that's what makes you a good quarterback. But it's one of those things that, like, if you can't block, and a quarterback, like it was who's the tall old quarterback, Orlovsky, that does all the, and he just said, like, listen, he's running out of a pocket there's plenty of room to throw. Well, when quarterbacks are getting hit on a regular basis, they kind of start feeling stuff that's not there. And so, and by the way, there's nobody that's really immune to that. If you get hit enough, eventually you start seeing stuff. It's in your peripheral vision, and you start kind of not paying attention to what's going on downfield. And so what has happened is the offensive line play got better once we made some changes. And then from that moment on, I swear, I've seen a steady improvement. I think we scaled down the playbook, and now I think we're starting to add the right stuff. How about a fullback from time to time? Right? Those were effective. Remember, we played without Maliki at tight end, which, guys, that's a huge loss.
Totally.
This is an all-conference type player. Like, he's that good. He's a good blocker, but Bryce Pierre stepped in and did a great job. Peterson stepped in and did a great job. Adding a fullback. We didn't have J-Mike in this game. Like, we haven't had, Rico in forever, and he was our best receiver early in the season. So, like, they're showing how much depth they have, but none of this stuff works if the O-line isn't doing their job. So, like, I give credit to a lot of people, because football's not just doesn't matter how good a play caller you are. If the guys up front aren't doing their job, your offense is going to look terrible.
Completely agree on that front, man. The offensive line, just the leaps and bounds they've made in the last 3 weeks, incredibly impressive. But I want to flip it to the other side of the football. When D'Anton Lynn left this past offseason, I think a lot of Bruins fans were fearful of the defense regressing. And I just want to give a massive shout out to what this guy, Ilkaika Malloy, has built with this defense. This wasn't just a rushing offense that came into the Rose Bowl this past weekend. This was Caleb Johnson, Big Ten rushing leader. And if not for a magical season from Ashton Jeanty, we're talking about the odds-on favorite for the Doak Walker Award. They shut them down in a way that this Iowa offense has not been shut down at all, especially in the run game. We have a pass rush now. Olufemi Oladejo is blitzing off the edge. and a new position he had to learn and make plays. Jay Toye is playing as well as any defensive tackle in the country in my eyes right now. Throw on the film from the Iowa game. We talk about this linebackers at length. We may have a legitimate Big Ten Player of the Year in Carson Schlesinger. Do you mind just talking about how impressive it is in Malloy's first year as a defensive coordinator and what he's doing with this UCLA defense, Wayne?
So I'm really glad that this is all happening. Kaika Malloy is the type of guy that I was when he first came to UCLA. I was hosting. First of all, I didn't even know that he played for Washington when I played for UCLA, so we played against each other. And I'm sitting there and I'm doing the banquet, and banquets are things that I like doing this. You ask me a question about football, I could talk about it forever, but standing up in front of a group of people and trying to be Ryan Seacrest is always difficult. And Kaika comes over and says, "Hey, Cook," you're pretty good at this thing. And that's all I said. And I just walked away going, dang it, I could do this. And it wasn't even, the show wasn't over yet. I had just done the introductions. And so he was coaching me and I didn't even realize it. He gave me that little pep talk I needed. And his energy, you guys, is infectious. I swear I try to tell anybody that would listen that I love this team in spring. I looked around at the athletes. You guys know I have like a man crush on Kay Medrano. I just could watch that guy run and move and play. He's so athletic. You guys saw him run down. He ran down Caleb Johnson from behind like the dude was nothing. This is a Heisman Trophy candidate, and he was 5 yards behind him and on the other side, and he tracks him down and catches him from behind. And I'm like, dude, Kane, you are such a stud. Like, what a great athlete he is. And then we look at the interceptions by Schlesinger, and it wasn't just that. It was the run after that one interception. It's like, oh, this guy's like, is he going to be Miles Jack? Can we put him in the backfield? And these guys are like, they're multifaceted athletes. They're guys that could probably play anything. And so, and if Femi, I mean, you talk about Jay pass rush. You guys know the play where Femi just swiped the foot of Caleb when he was trying to get to the outside. It looked like it might have been, if he would have got around the corner, he'd have got some yards. But you got to go back and watch the beginning of that play. Jay destroyed two people, and he made him run around to the left, and it was just, he wrecked the whole play. And then Femi, being the athlete that he is, what Kaika Malloy has done is he's found, and I said this, and this is not a knock on Carson Schlesinger because he's incredible and he's the right man for the job. But because we've moved everybody around, he's been the guy that's like, listen, you're going to be able to make 1 million tackles if everybody else does their job. And he's done that. He just cleans house. And so I love what he's done. I thought the secondary, we talked about this after the Rutgers game. And it's easy to say this, right? You got to play a little tighter. You can't give up the easy ones. It's going to happen sometimes. College football, the passing game is not what it was when I played. Like, you know what I mean? People complete 75% of their passes now. If we completed high 50s, we were good back then. 60 was always our goal. Now it's, even more than that. So I love what he's done. I had one of the coolest moments, you guys, on the field after the game. I was going to grab Addison, and because he's just been playing so well, I'm like, I want to interview this guy. And I got Addison, and then Kane comes over, and Jalen Davies comes over, and I did the worst 3-player interview in the history of mankind. I didn't even know where my microphone was, and I'm like, and it was just fun. Because these are guys that were like having such a blast playing for a Kaika Malloy, and they knew what they did. They knew what they did against a really good Iowa team. So that was the whole thing was just a blast, you guys.
Well, that's great to hear, Wayne. And it's a comprehensive victory. I mean, it felt like we really won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and I think we got to also give one last shout out, Wayne, before we go to Washington, is Bagani. I mean, on special teams, that 57-yard kick seemed to really inject life into the stadium. It was 10-0 at that point. Iowa was starting to rev up that pass rush a little bit. Bagani kicking that field goal and then almost hitting another 56-yarder later. I think that's going to pay some serious dividends in some close games here down the stretch. So it felt like it was all 3 phases of the game. To see the improvement with this team over the course of the last month has just been incredible. And so,
just quickly, because like this is one thing that I love watching the maturation of Deshaun Foster.
Yeah,
I mean that's a gutsy call. You're down 10-0,
Totally.
and we're talking 57-yard field goal. And I asked him about it afterwards. He said, yeah, he made like eight or so of them in pregame warm-ups. So I felt good about it, and he asked him to do it again later. He didn't make the second one, but you nailed it. That was a momentum swinging kick because it wasn't just like making a 30-yard larder and going, yay, we're down by 7 now. It was our guy just made a 57-yard field goal. That's like a huge kick, and it led to a big celebration. And it's very underrated how moments like that. My old head coach Jerry Donahue used to always say this: players, when things are going bad, players need to make plays.
Yeah.
That's I can yell at you all day, but it comes down to a player making a play to get people fired up. And I swear, as long as I've watched football, coaches can scream and yell at people on the sidelines. And it's like, okay, coach, yeah, we got you. But, like, when a player makes a play, a big play, it gets everybody's adrenaline up, and it's amazing how effective that could be. So that kick was huge.
No doubt, Wayne. No question about it. Wayne, segueing over now to Washington, a second consecutive sort of Friday night lights here on the road. Want to talk with you a little bit about where you're seeing kind of the key matchups. I think from our perspective, it seems like this game's going to kind of come down to three sort of key elements, if you will. The first is, I think, the continuation of our defensive front seven. The fearsome foursome, like we talked about, Toia, Femi, Schlesinger, Kane, against a rather patchwork Washington offensive line. This is sort of year one of the Jed Fish era. Lost a lot of guys from last year's national finalist team. Really seems like they're trying to find themselves, and they've been susceptible to really kind of getting owned against some more physical teams on that offensive line, particularly last week against Penn State. So how we see kind of the front seven continue to sort of impose their will and their momentum on this offensive line. The second, Wayne, it seems like on the back end, this could be the most dynamic wide receiver group, arguably, that UCLA has played perhaps all year or, this side of Oregon, if you will, particularly with Giles Jackson and Denzel Boston. Both of those guys, 600-plus yards receiving, and the secondary has shown that they've been kind of susceptible, even in that Iowa game, to some big chunk plays. So how they sort of hold up in that particular situation, I think, seems to be a really key matchup. And then, Wayne, I think it's on the other side of the ball. You alluded to it at the start of the show. A little bit surprising, 5-5. Washington is a 3.5-point favorite at home, senior night against UCLA. But Washington's riding a 19-game home winning streak. And so they really sort of rely, it seems, on the enthusiasm of their crowd, momentum to really be able to stay in this game. And how Garbs, I think, kind of controls his emotions, stays within himself, maybe doesn't quite go as much off book, off script as he did against Iowa, and is more of the Garbs that we saw against Nebraska and Rutgers. Seems like those are kind of the three key things we're looking for. How are you seeing this matchup break out, and what else are you sort of looking for?
Well, that was really good, Jamal, because the pass game is what I would be a little bit worried about. I like Coleman as a running back. As a matter of fact, I think he's very, very, very good. But I think, UCLA has proven time and time again that these linebackers in the defensive front are going to hold up. We didn't talk about it. We're seeing more Sharif Say, number 94, is playing a little bit more. I mean, obviously, Femi's the one that's showing out as a pass rusher. But, the better the pass rush has become, it's going to put more pressure on Will Rogers to get the ball out because we don't want to let him – because, listen, he can be a little bit up and down, but when he has time, he can be a very good quarterback. He's proven that he can play this game. And you mentioned the receiving core, so this is going to be a huge test for the secondary. But the pass rush is going to have to help. We still have to be stinching against the run, make them one-dimensional, make them feel like they have to throw. And when you do that, you can force them into some bad throws. On the other side of the ball, I think UCLA's got an opportunity to keep running the ball. Yeah. And I think that's huge. I will say this, of all the stadiums I've played in and been around, when Washington is rocking, it's one of the most, it's insane. I mean, the three best in the Pac-12 have always been Utah, Oregon, and Washington, in my opinion. As far as like how loud it gets, Washington back when I played was stupid because they were, competing for national championships, and it was crazy back then. We didn't go up there, I don't think, with Penix. I'm not sure. I don't think we went up there when he played. But but it's an awesome setting, so I get that they get some credit, and I get that it's a great advantage for them. But who better to go up and play on the road than UCLA? We've been to Penn State. We've seen 110,000 people. We've been to LSU, and we were tied 17-7 at half. I don't think UCLA showed up in any of those games. It was like, oh, we can't handle this. They showed up and played hard. They just got beat by really good teams. So I think that if anybody's ready, and remember, UCLA has 3 of its 4 wins are road wins. So including one at Nebraska, which is another one of those stadiums that's a hard place to play. So I like this matchup. I think you nailed it. I think the secondary, this is their game. But if anybody can help the secondary, it's that pass rush. Coach Malloy's been doing some pretty awesome things with how he's blitzing people. We've had some games where we've sent some safeties, some corners, some things that are a little bit confusing. You've got to find ways to make quarterbacks make mistakes. And again, I'm going to say this again, win the turnover battle. Win the turnover battle. The reason why that game last week was 20-17. I mean, thank God we got our own turnovers. I don't even remember what the numbers were. Was it 3-2, 2-3? What? Do you guys remember what the turnover was?
It was 5 total turnovers.
Yeah. So 3 for us and 2 for them.
Yep.
I mean, but if it would have been 3-0, we don't win that game.
Yeah.
Right? If Schlesinger doesn't get those 2 picks, Kane had the turnover too. So I guess we had 3 and whatever. But the idea is that you need to win the turnover battle. And again, we don't know. It's been raining up there a lot. I think the percentage is fairly low, like 39. I think I just looked % rain. But it probably will be a little moist, a little wet in the air. So we just have to be able to handle all that stuff. And again, it's a Friday night game where everybody's watching. How cool was that last week? You get a win against a team people don't think you're going to beat, and you do it in front of a big audience on Friday night, which I know nobody really loves the Friday night thing, but I think it's kind of cool, and then you get the whole weekend off afterwards, which is kind of nice too.
It's fantastic, man. And, another Friday night showdown. Jed Fish, for whatever reason, is always scheduled for UCLA right before that USC game. And to the outside looking in, this looks like it can be a trap game for UCLA where you're running high. You've got a 3-game win streak. You just won on national television on Fox. You just got to get through Washington. Then you get to USC, the rivalry game. It's an easy game to kind of overlook. This is at least to the outside public. In the locker room, Wayne, is there such a thing as a trap game? Or is it just, maybe the outside public's perception of scheduling issues like that? And 2, I was wondering if you could just kind of dote on Logan Loya and what he's meant as a UCLA Bruin throughout his career. We were confused at the beginning of the year for him not getting his time, but when he got his number called, especially in a game where they needed him badly, Matavau is out, J-Mike is out. He made the biggest play, according to the Big Ten, last week on the Friday night to get a touchdown. Talk about Loya and talk about the concept of a trap game and if it's actually real, something real within a locker room before playing it.
So I'm going to save Loya because I want to make sure everybody understands how good I think he is. So first of all, Jed Fish, let's be honest, he's pretty good, and we've gone up against him before, and we're like, we got these guys, and then next thing you know, we're going, how do we lose to them? Jed Fish is a very good coach. He's dealing with a little bit of a rebuild, and they brought some pieces, and they didn't get everything they wanted, whatever. They're still a talented team. He's still a good coach. So he will have a great game plan. They will be ready to play. So I'm going to start with that. As far as trap games go, this team, and it's funny because I was thinking about this before the Iowa game, and I'm like, if we could just beat Iowa, then the thoughts go into your brain. You split with Washington and SC, and then you get Fresno State, and please don't you dare let up in Fresno State because those are the types of things that, like, this is the kind of stuff that Nick Saban was always great at. When he referred to rat poison and all the good teams he had, he never let his team, relax. He'd always find a way of needle them in the media or make them sure they knew that, they weren't good enough. They had to keep working harder. He was brilliant at that. This is, I don't think it's going to be a problem. UCLA has so much senior leadership. They have so many upperclassmen. They have so many players they're fighting to have one of those types of seasons. And again, I've talked about this with you guys before, that the rest of the world will look at the record and be like, whatever. But man, right now, I think if UCLA plays its best football, which you're supposed to at the end of the year, And I'm hopeful that J. Mike and Maliki are back. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if you guys have heard anything, but usually if they're out for 10 days or a certain type of injury. Prongos I'm a little bit more worried about because that looked like it was a knee, and I hope he's okay. Someone's saying I don't know. You guys, but I'm telling you, go back and watch the game and watch Jeffers. He played really well. I want Prongos in there, trust me, but I was very happy with the way Jeffers played. But the idea is, I forgot what I was saying. We got distracted there, you guys. This is my over 50 brain.
No, Wayne, you were saying that you want to play your best ball in November.
Thank you. There you go. You'd be shocked how many times I tell my 8th grade students that I'm like, "What the heck was I talking about?" And the good ones that are listening, man, they'll get me back on track. But no, like you want to play your best football right now. So I was just going to drop this. In my mind, we're better than these next 3 teams. So if everybody, if you're listening, Kane, if you're listening, Femi, if you're listening, Jay, if you're listening, Logan, if you're listening, Ethan, you need to play the best games of your life because these teams are going to kick your ass. That's now you need to go into these games. You don't ever want to believe some guy like me that's not playing. But now you guys can go away, and I'll say this to everybody else. If we play our best football, I think we're better than those teams. Yeah. And so, to me, I've always said our quarterback is fantastic, and I'm mad at him for the turnovers, but he's going to bounce back because that's Ethan. He's going to keep busting his butt, and he's going to get better. He throws some great balls, you guys. That touchdown to Logan was so nice. The Titus one was so nice. So, we've got that. Okay, get everybody healthy and play your best football, but you cannot let up at all. You have to we need to have a game where we don't have so many mistakes that it's close. We have to. I mean, if you think about it, guys, the 3-game win streak, every one of those games we got to clean up stuff. The Rutgers game, we got to clean up stuff. The Nebraska game, we got to clean up stuff, and same with the Iowa game. So we're winning now by making and still making too many mistakes. So I just think our best football is ahead of us. I mean, and again, if you're going to argue, if we just cut the 15-yarders in half, I mean, we're giving people points with these penalties. Cut those in half, okay? Cut the turnovers because in a couple of those games we had a couple of turnovers. Just clean up that stuff, right, and we'll be okay. So that part, that's where I'm standing. I don't want to split anything anymore. We win 3 more games, we get 7 wins. We recruit like crazy. We get transfers in, and everything goes well. That's what you want right now. That's your goal, and there's no reason why you can't think that. You can't think that. We haven't even seen who's the quarterback for SC yet. We don't know what Jaden Miles is going to look like. We have no idea. So we'll see. So as far as Logan Loya, and this is the part that was frustrating to me. I don't know how else to say this. He's a naturally gifted athlete. He may look like he's kind of, because he does. He's kind of got a baby face, and he kind of smiles and he runs around. This dude is a dog. He gets after it. And when he catches the ball, he's making a move. And you frown upon this with people because you want to make sure you're looking it in. But man, he grabs that thing and snatches it. And here's the part that I love. You guys, he has the softest hands. You literally can't, some guys you can hear their hands. You cannot hear his hands. He just makes it look so effortless when he catches it, and it's always with his hands. Okay, and he brings it in, and he's always making this little move, and he doesn't even look like he's just kind of shifty. I don't even know how to explain it. He's just such a naturally gifted. He knows space. He knows how to get open. He's athletic. Don't you dare underestimate his athleticism. He went up and caught that sucker, came down, knocked the guy on his rear end, kept his balance and his knee off the ground, and made it into the end zone. We watched him. Remember the one-hander last year?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, this guy is elite. I think he's an NFL-type player. If Tom Brady was still in the league, he would have been the perfect, Edelman-type guy in that type of a world. He's really, really good, and I love that he's on this team. Every week we do an all states you're in good hands pick, and we all have to pick a player. And I pretty much have just turned it into the Logan Loya award for me. I said, I will always take Logan Loya, and then will you guys please let me pick someone else? So it's always Logan Loya, and then I'll pick Maliki or Titus, or just because I just feel like he's just always open, guys. If it's, he really is. And now Now we got Maliki, who's always open. We got Titus, who's always open. So I've got more. I'm adding to the list because now those guys, when they're in there, and then let's get the deep threat of J-Mike. Let's get that going again. And it's
Titus.
Yeah, Quasi. Yep.
Oh, yeah, but you know what? And that's, hey, and Quasi's are young, what's his name? Josh Lewin, what's his name? Josh Lewin compared him to Lasley. I was saying like Freddie Mitchell. I'm throwing out big names because he's kind of one of those guys that he's a little bit of a wild card right now.
Yeah, totally.
He's young and like but man, he is talented. Really, really talented. So like, and we can keep going. Keegan, like, this is why I'm so, like, I just feel like now that we got the guys blocking up front, and again, Prongos is a big deal. He's been playing really good football. I'm not saying that trust me, if he can come back and play, that's great. I'm just hoping that Jeffers can. I always say there's two different types of backups. And this is usually for quarterbacks, but I guess it's good left tackles too. When you have to sit on the starting job for a week, it's stressful.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're not a starter, you don't deal with that. When you get thrust into a game and it's in the middle, and you don't have any time to think. You just get out there and play. Right. And so like we'll see, because not everybody's a starter. And I know that sounds weird, but like some guys, man, they look great in practice and they get in the game and like they can't play. So like you got to hope that. But he looked awesome to me.
Yeah. No. So, Wayne will get you out on this. And this has been so incredible, and thanks as always for just being such an incredible partner with us, and just you bleed UCLA and you epitomize Bruin Nation in just the best way possible, Wayne, and we love you so much. What do you think? Got to give you a score, Wayne. What do you think? How is this thing going to shake out Friday night? To your point, Wayne, I'll just double click on something. We were having some conversations, Will and I, with some others as well. The Big Ten has 4 of the top 5 teams, according to the AP poll.
Yep.
UCLA is the 5th best team in the Big Ten right now. And so to your point about how loaded this team is and the fact that, look, it was only Rutgers by 3. It was, Iowa by 3. It was only Nebraska by 7. All 3 of those games felt like they were double-digit comfortable games. So you're spot on that we have not yet played our best ball. That best game has yet to come. And could the best game potentially be here at Washington? So that with the stage for UCLA. Washington, we talked about already, 19-game home winning streak. They're sitting at 5-5, Wayne. Their last game of the season is at Oregon. So they need this game desperately to try and make a bowl game. With those two contexts, how do you see this game playing out Friday night?
I love it, and just remind people too that UCLA's played 5 of the top 16s in the conference. The only one we didn't play is Ohio State.
Yep.
So we've had an absolute juggernaut of a schedule, and some of those games have been on the road too. So it's been really rough. But so what, right? We're where we're at. I mean, the score that popped into my head was 28-21, and because I don't think we're going to make it easy on ourselves, and I'm not naive enough to know that stadium's not going to be an issue. We may have some false starts, we may have some things, but like we got to keep our heads. I can live with the false starter too. I want the 15-yarders gone. Again, if it's pass interference, it's pass interference. I'm talking about the dumb ones. Yeah. The unnecessary roughness penalties, the ones that you can absolutely control. We're not playing a Big Ten team, so whatever favoritism referees might have, I didn't say that out loud. But whether they like the Big Ten more than the former Pac-12 schools is whatever, but it won't be that way because it's Washington and UCLA. So I think we're better. I mean, I really do. I think we got the better quarterback. I think we've got. I mean, I'm telling you, those guys on defense are studs. They're just so secondary. This can be like. Remember, this is what's been weird. KJ Wallace has been good. Ramon Henderson has been good. Kirkwood, we don't talk about enough because because they're just not. It's not usually when there's a pass play, it's not on him. Like it feels like Kirkwood's been very good this year, and I've also appreciated he's dropped it down a notch on the brashness. And I don't notice him as much as I used to because I always struggle with DBs when they are very I know it's the thing to be flamboyant and let everybody know how great you are all the time, but remember when you're a corner, the next play you're gonna get beat. You know what I mean? And if that happens a lot, it just makes you look dumb. So, I like the enthusiasm. I like the excitement, but I feel like he's playing really, really solid. I love Addison. As an athlete, I just could watch that guy play all day. So let's make this the game of the secondary. Let's make this the game where those guys make a couple of plays. I don't care if it's forcing fumbles, turnovers, something that makes this game, because we remember, we go back to Hawaii, right? Our secondary did some great things. This is going to be a game where they're going to be tested. So I think this is going to, and you brought it up, Jamal. I'm stealing this from you. I agree with you. I think this is the secondary in this one, and if they can step up and do their thing, Garbs, keep it away from the other guys and keep running that football, because I think it's there this week. And if we do that, I think the passing game will be there. So I'm excited. I said 28-21, but I really want it to be more like 32-14. But I'll keep it close, because I don't want to get carried away.
No, we love it, Wayne. Thank you for coming on. Bruin fans, we're going to need that energy on Friday night. Tune into the game. If you're lucky enough to travel up to Seattle, make sure you pack it. One of the best tailgating spots in all of college football, right there in Seattle on the Puget Sound. So make sure you get up there and get active. Go Bruins, guys. 4's up. Big shout out to Wayne for coming on.